I had a crush on a guy named Anders, but sadly, he wasn't into me. Instead, he liked another girl. After my friend and I watched To All the Boys I've Loved Before, inspired by this film, my friend suggested I write him a letter expressing my feelings. The next day at school, I showed her the letter, intending only for her to see it, but she ended up giving it to Anders. He then approached me to honestly say that he didn't have feelings for me. He only saw me as a friend because we were close. Accepting his response, though upset and wanting to move on, I approached his best friend, claiming I liked him, and we started dating in secret because I disliked gossip. Eventually, I discovered that the boy I originally liked was upset about us dating. Feeling jealous after learning that the boy I originally liked, Anders, had a girlfriend, I continued dating his best friend in secret, as our relationship was hidden from everyone. My best friend unexpectedly reveals she knows Anders, who I still had feelings for, is now single and showing interest in me. Caught in a dilemma, I didn't disclose my ongoing secret relationship, fearing her knowing. Meanwhile, my best friend revealed she knew my secret boyfriend was Guillermo. Despite the complications, Anders starts flirting with me, leading to us dating secretly, under the same condition of avoiding gossip. Thus, I ended up with two boyfriends who were friends. This situation made my relationships with both feel special and unique, while my best friend and Guillermo remained unaware of the entire scenario. When my best friend and Guillermo started talking and eventually dating secretly, Guillermo asked her to be his girlfriend in the same manner he and I had agreed to keep our relationship a secret. Upon learning this, I confronted Guillermo, ended our relationship, and continued dating Anders in secret. However, my feelings shifted towards another guy. Throughout this time, Guillermo never knew about Anders. Anders was unaware of Guillermo, and my best friend remained clueless about my double relationships. Amidst this, a new boy joined our school, catching my immediate interest. I told my best friend about my crush on the new guy, Manuel, hoping she'd help me get closer to him. However, as time passed, she became increasingly close to him, to the point where they were always together, hugging and holding hands. Despite my feelings for him, I never made a move due to my shyness. Eventually, I gathered the courage to ask her directly if she liked Manuel, to which she adamantly denied any romantic interest. Yet, 2 months later, rumors circulated that my best friend and Manuel were dating, even though she knew I liked him. This revelation left me utterly shocked. Upon hearing the rumors, I immediately sought out my best friend, not saying a word but taking her hand and leading her to the secluded stairs where we could talk privately. I confronted her, asking her to be honest with me about her relationship with Manuel, the boy I liked. She broke down in tears, apologizing profusely, admitting she didn't want to hurt me but couldn't help her feelings for Manuel. She confessed they were indeed dating and wanted me to hear it from her, which was ironic since I already learned about it through rumors. Feeling betrayed for her actions and her dating the boy I liked behind my back, I stopped talking to her for 2 weeks, despite their blatant disregard for my feelings by flaunting their relationship. Eventually, my feelings for Manuel faded, and I developed a crush on another boy named Adrian, shifting my attention away from Manuel and my best friend's relationship. Manuel started talking to me, and we quickly became close, especially since we were in the same class and ended up working on group projects together. Our conversations flowed easily, and soon, my best friend, who was Manuel's girlfriend, grew jealous. She didn't like how much time we were spending together and voiced her concerns, insisting that I keep my distance from Manuel. Despite her warnings and acknowledging my feelings for Manuel, I continued to interact with him. Eventually, my best friend and I grew apart because of this situation. One day, while chatting with Manuel on Instagram, he abruptly shared that he had feelings for me, not his current girlfriend, my best friend. He confessed that the spark with her had faded and he wanted to end things with her to be with me. Shocked by his admission, I found myself at a crossroads, facing the dilemma of potentially starting a relationship with Manuel at the expense of my friendship. My best friend, despite our past conflicts over Manuel, reconnected with me after years of silence. It felt as though our friendship hadn't skipped a beat, and soon enough, we were as close as we had ever been. During one of our conversations, she revealed that she was pregnant with Manuel's child. Unfortunately, Manuel's reaction to the news was far from supportive. He treated her terribly, denying responsibility for the child and accusing her of infidelity. Feeling utterly devastated, my best friend turned to her parents for support, confiding in them about her pregnancy and Manuel's refusal to acknowledge his paternity. The situation was incredibly tough on her, and as her friend, I felt a deep sense of anger towards Manuel for his actions and empathy for her during this challenging time. My best friend's parents confronted Manuel's parents after he refused to take responsibility for her pregnancy, leading to a huge conflict. Despite this, Manuel continued to deny everything, and his parents sided with him, asserting the baby wasn't his. Despite the turmoil, my best friend chose to proceed with the pregnancy alone, only to suffer a miscarriage. In an unexpected turn of events, Manuel reached out to her, apologizing for his denial and attributions to fear and uncertainty. She forgave him, they reunited, and now she's pregnant again. At 17, I wanted to get a tattoo with my friend, and for this, I needed money. So, when my mom gave me money to buy food, I saved part of that money without using it. My mom didn't know because she didn't want me to get a tattoo, so I was going to do it secretly, and that wasn't right. Don't do that. Eventually, I managed to gather all the necessary money and enough to get the tattoo on the back of my shoulder with my best friend. So, when we both could, we went together to get our tattoos among ourselves as friends. It turned out beautiful, but as always, I have bad luck, and in my case, everything went wrong because they did a design I did not want. Our real image. I am only putting this here so you can understand how they were doing it behind my shoulder. I couldn't see that the design they were making was basically one that I did not want. When they finished the tattoo and showed us the result, it was the worst part because they had done it wrong, both because it looked bad and because the person who did it was still learning. I knew it was going to be horrible when I saw the terrible tattoo they had made, because it was going to mean that my body was ruined forever. So I preferred that my mom get a lot less upset, even though she would also be upset about what they had done, but also knowing she would be twice as upset when she saw that I had permanently ruined my skin since they had made a design I did not want and that was poorly done. To avoid her getting too upset with me and just a little upset, what I did was get another tattoo, but with my mom's name. By the way, this second touch was less painful and completely free because I threatened the girl who had messed up my tattoo with reporting her for the terrible service and for tattooing a minor without parental authorization. Now, the thing is, when I got home with the two tattoos, my mom yelled at me asking where I had been and why I had come home so late. I took advantage of these questions to tell her the truth, knowing that my mom would be upset sooner or later. I must confess that I was not afraid of my mom because the tattoo was on my skin and my mom couldn't do anything to remove it because it had marked me forever. So, at that moment, I told my mom that my best friend and I had gone to get tattoos. After telling her that, my mom started to cry and scream, and she pulled my hair. What happened next? Comment and like for part 2, and I told my mom everything immediately with my best friend. She first started crying, but then her face completely changed, and she started yelling at me very loudly and very harshly. Out of nowhere, she started pulling my hair. I was super scared, but I started to cry and crying. I told my mom to please forgive me, and then I showed her the tattoo I had made with her name. That is, my mom's name. When my mom saw the tattoos, she got incredibly upset and started pulling my hair much harder while telling me, "I know you got my name tattooed so I wouldn't get mad at you, so I wouldn't say anything. Do you think I'm stupid? Don't think you're going to keep the tattoo, because in 2 months, I'm going to remove this tattoo with several painful laser surgeries." At that moment, I felt true terror and began to cry very hard, locking myself in my room. By the way, my mom eventually did not manage to remove the 2 tattoos I had on my skin with the super painful laser surgery. I never wanted to change schools. I mean really, because I don't hate everyone. Everyone look at me. So 2 weeks before starting classes, I was going to enter schools, but for this reason, I didn't know anyone, absolutely no one, not a single person. And I was super nervous and not at all happy, quite the opposite. And then there was this incredibly handsome guy, then he turns to look at me, and it was like we were just looking at each other. He was a bit older than me but not by much, maybe 1 or 2 years. Well, so between classes, and obviously, I wanted to be there, then I didn't care about anything else, and he had several friends, but they seemed pretty normal to you, but it was strange because he was the first guy who, in the first week I entered, a bunch of guys were hitting on me, but I had a boyfriend so personally I didn't give anyone the time of day. About a month later, my best friend tells me, "Hey, you know David likes you?" I didn't know who David was. Then one day, another friend and I were talking normally, and then some guy shouts goodbye, and my best friend and I, kind of shocked, started laughing nervously. Then the guy leaves and my best friend tells me, "That's David, the guy who likes you." So from there, I started paying more attention to this guy. A couple of days pass, and I approach him at the exit and just said goodbye, and he smiled. So I tell him that we started talking, but it's normal because this boy had a girlfriend and I had a boyfriend. But anyway, we really liked each other. Then comes my birthday, well, and David and I are talking as usual, and out of nowhere, he tells me, "You know, I'm going to break up with my girlfriend." And I was super happy, and I told him, "You should tell her already." So, the next day, we spent the day hugging. I clarified that if it weren't for my friend, I wouldn't say anything. But well, to know destiny, we never ended up doing anything. So then in December, this guy gets a girlfriend again, and I also had a boyfriend, but I was still in love with him. I tell my best friend that I'm still in love with a guy I never did anything with, but she knew that he and I would never be able to be together because he had a girlfriend and I had a boyfriend. So my best friend started saying he's also handsome and started flirting with him, and we were kind of joking about it, but I wasn't. Then at the end of December, he starts talking to me again, and we start flirting as before. We always had partners, so it was fine to just flirt and make things sweeter, but we would find any excuse to be together. One day, I remembered the first day of school when I was gathering materials, and it was always David. It has always been David since the pandemic started, and we drifted apart until then life happened. He broke up with his girlfriend, and I broke up with mine. We started flirting again, but it was never anything serious. We made many calls, but then we let it slip away again, and I fell into depression. As you know, I went through some tough years until this boy came along and pulled me out of that depression. But that's another story. In January of this year, David and I started talking and flirting again as always, but as usual, we let it go. And that's when I opened my eyes and realized that while he's incredibly handsome, because we were coming out as a different pair recently, I decided to distance myself. Firstly, because you always need to put yourself first. I guess it's not just me. I also became a bit distant because it began to hurt a lot. And right now, he's seeing someone, and he's very happy, I think. We haven't talked since January. I still care about him, and I think it will always be like that. But well, life goes on. There are great universities and really cool people around. And within the circle of friends, I met someone who would now be a great friend, and another guy named Gonzalo, and we got along too well. We clicked instantly, even though we annoyed each other a lot, especially since I had an enormous crush on this guy, but always as friends because I had a boyfriend for 2 years. I broke up with my boyfriend, denying my feelings for the sake of everyone else, but we would talk every night over the phone. He was still madly in love with his ex. They had been apart for 3 years, yet he still thought of her a lot. I don't know why she left such a big mark on him. Since we were very close, he would always talk to me about her. And honestly, it never bothered me because it was during the time when I would claim the nights because it was the time I talked with him. Then, last year, I traveled to other cities, and it turns out he also traveled to the same city because I like to travel at the speed of holidays, and we were very good friends. But he didn't know I liked him. So, we would meet almost every day, and he would spend the time telling me that he wanted to get drunk to call his ex, who was in that city of brands. At around 4 in the morning, he told me that he had already written to her, feeling super excited about it. And well, I got a scolding from my grandmother because we were staying at a hotel, and it was 4 in the morning. After those treatments, we continued talking normally until he returned from that trip. He wasn't the same with me, not at all, and I decided to reach out and describe how he had become so distant. Sometimes he wouldn't even answer my texts for hours. Then, one day, I realized that he was constantly talking to Liz, a friend who had started sharing her things with him, and I felt really bad about it. I was especially jealous because he told me what had happened. On my birthday, I invited my friends over to my house to drink, and Gonzalo, the boy I like, couldn't come, but my friend Liz and my son did, along with our other friends. It wasn't a big deal that he didn't congratulate me and greet me. So, that night, as we were about to start the party at home, I asked him why he hadn't wished me a happy birthday. "Did you forget about everything we've been through?" I asked if he no longer wanted to be my friend, and without any excuse, he told me that he didn't congratulate me in the afternoon because he knew I'd be busy. I got angry and told him that I didn't want those easy outs anymore. He called me like 3 times and sent me messages begging, but I had already made up my mind. 2 weeks later, Liz, my best friend, told me she had forgiven him. A couple of days later, we got assigned a project together. We did the project via video call to finish it faster. When we finished, I was really upset, but then he asked if I could stay a bit longer to talk, and he wanted to clear things up. At this point, I no longer had a boyfriend, and he apologized. The truth is, life was ready for what was before, and I told him that I wasn't just upset about the birthday thing. I was upset because I liked him, and I went to the point. He said, "Yeah, I know that's obvious, but I don't feel the same way." Basically, he friend-zoned me, and I said, "Okay, I'll use this opportunity to get over it." But it's simple. If he doesn't feel the same way or engage with me, he stops talking to me. So I reconsidered and forgot about the whole thing. Occasionally, he still talks to me, but I try to keep it to a minimum every day, every night. And my friend told me a bunch of lies, and that's fine because she knows how I feel about Gonzalo, and she doesn't care. And now she tells me every time Gonzalo does the same thing. I don't know if she dares, but either way,